Some of the most downright terrifying psychological horror facts about your own mind. Your mind is truly your own worst enemy when it comes to sabotaging you and destroying you. Let's start with number 1. Your brain can create false memories. Imagine remembering something so vividly, an event, a conversation, a childhood memory, only to find out it never happened. Your mind doesn't just store memories, it manufactures them. Researchers call it false memory syndrome. And the scariest part? You'd swear on your life that these memories are real. But here's the truly terrifying part. If your brain can fabricate one false memory, how many others are hiding in your past? Studies have shown that people can be convinced they committed crimes they never did simply through suggestion. Some have even confessed to crimes they had no part in, with detailed emotional recollections of something that never happened. Think about it. What if a memory you hold close, one that defines who you are, is just your brain's way of filling in the gaps? And it gets worse. Scientists have found that every time you recall a memory, your brain rewrites it, like a corrupted file being saved over and over. The more you remember something, the less accurate it becomes. So, that moment you hold on to, that one thing that shaped you, is it even real anymore? Or is it just a story your mind keeps telling you? Now ask yourself, if your mind can so easily fabricate memories, can you truly trust anything you remember? Can you even trust yourself? Number 2, your brain tries to fill in missing gaps. Ever stare into the darkness and see something move, or hear whispers when no one is around? That's your brain trying to fill in missing sensory information. It's the same reason people see figures in the shadows or faces in random objects. Your brain craves patterns, so much so that it will create ghosts where there are none. This phenomenon is called pareidolia, and it's why people see Jesus in toast, faces in the moon, or shadowy figures lurking in their peripheral vision. Your mind is constantly searching for meaning in chaos, for familiarity in the unknown. But sometimes, it finds something that isn't really there, or worse, something that is. This pattern-seeking function is a survival mechanism, an ancient instinct meant to keep us safe. In prehistoric times, mistaking a tree for a predator was better than mistaking a predator for a tree. But today, this same function works against us, making us see figures standing in the doorway when we wake up at night, or faces staring at us from deep inside a closet. And sometimes your brain doesn't just make up shapes, it fills in sounds too. Ever heard your name whispered when you were alone, or distant voices when no one was speaking? When your brain lacks input, it compensates, sometimes fabricating voices, whispers, even full conversations. And when the mind is deprived long enough, those whispers start making sense. Kind of why people who are subjected to solitary confinement tend to go insane. So next time you see something in the corner of your eye, or hear a whisper in the silence, remember, your brain is just trying to fill in the gaps. But what if just once it's not wrong? Number 3, you can hear voices in complete silence. In total silence, your brain gets restless. In an experiment, people placed in an anechoic chamber where no sound exists started hearing whispers, footsteps, even their own heartbeat turning into voices. Left alone in silence long enough, your mind will start talking to you, and not always in your own voice. The anechoic chamber is one of the quietest places on Earth. So quiet, in fact, that you can hear the sound of your own blood moving through your veins. But what's truly disturbing isn't what you hear, it's what your mind starts to create. In complete sensory deprivation, your brain panics. It expects sound, movement, something. And when it doesn't get it, it invents something instead. Test subjects in these chambers have reported hearing distant music, eerie breathing, and even full conversations that weren't happening. Some have claimed to hear their own voice whispering thoughts they weren't consciously thinking.
You are worthless.
And the longer you stay inside, the worse it gets.
You are nothing.
Some people start seeing shadows flicker in their vision. Others say they feel watched, like something is in the room with them, even though they know they're alone. It raises a terrifying question. If your mind can generate voices, whispers, and unseen presences just from a lack of sound, what else is it capable of? If you were left in absolute silence long enough, would you start to hear something real? Number 4, sleep paralysis. your personal horror show. You wake up, but you can't move. A shadowy figure stands at the foot of your bed, watching. This isn't a dream, it's sleep paralysis, where your body is frozen between sleep and waking. What's horrifying is that the figure you see, it's not just in your mind. Scientists believe your brain projects nightmares into your real surroundings, so next time it happens, be careful where you look. Sleep paralysis is one of the most terrifying experiences a person can have while fully conscious. You're trapped in your own body, completely aware, yet unable to move. And worse, you're not alone. Most sufferers report seeing dark figures in their room, some lurking in the shadows, others sitting on their chest, pressing the air from their lungs. Some figures whisper, some scream, and some just watch. What's terrifying is that these hallucinations are strikingly similar across cultures. The shadow man, the old hag, the demon in the corner, they all appear, despite people never having heard of them before. Why does sleep paralysis create the same nightmare for so many people? Some scientists believe it's a primitive fear response hardwired into our brains from ancient times. Others think it's something darker. What if, in those moments between waking and sleeping, you really are seeing something? So the next time you wake up but can't move, and you feel like something is in the room with you, don't look too hard. You might not like what you see. Number 5, your mind lies to protect you. If your brain ever hid something from you, would you even know? Some psychologists believe our minds suppress traumatic memories not to heal us, but to keep us from breaking. But sometimes they come back, fragmented, distorted, creeping into nightmares, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Your mind is not just a vault of memories, it's a filter, deciding what you're allowed to remember. It buries pain deep enough that you forget it ever existed, but that doesn't mean it's gone. Trauma doesn't disappear, it lingers, waiting. Some people experience flashbacks, sudden and vivid memories that burst through the cracks. Others feel the effects without ever recalling the cause, unexplained fears, anxieties, or a deep sense that something is missing. And here's the terrifying part. What if your mind is hiding something from you right now? A childhood horror, a moment so unbearable that your brain locked it away? You might never know until the wrong scent, the wrong sound, or the wrong dream brings it all rushing back. So if you ever feel like something is lurking just beyond your memory, like an unease you can't explain, maybe your mind isn't protecting you. Maybe it's just waiting for the right time to let you remember. Number 6, the brain can't turn off your fear response. When you feel fear, your amygdala activates. It's your brain's warning system, the first line of defense when something dangerous is near. It triggers the fight or flight response, sending your body into survival mode. But did you know your brain can also turn off this response? In rare cases, people with specific brain damage or conditions report a complete lack of fear, even in situations that would normally trigger panic. This phenomenon is most commonly associated with a condition called Urbach-Wiethe disease, a rare disorder that damages the amygdala. The result? The person loses the ability to experience fear, leaving them entirely unaware of danger. Imagine walking into the dark, knowing something is there but with no fear to drive your instincts. No racing heart, no gut reaction to flee, just calm, and perhaps even curiosity, in the face of what should be terrifying. What's even scarier? This brain damage often goes undetected because people with this condition seem perfectly normal. It's only when something goes horribly wrong and they fail to react appropriately to a dangerous situation that it becomes clear. They are walking through life without the fear that should protect them, and their mind no longer recognizes danger. And if you're not afraid, what's left to keep you safe? Number 7, your brain can make you forget entire people. You could wake up tomorrow and forget someone you've known your whole life, not because you're getting older or experiencing memory loss, but because your brain can actively choose to delete certain people from your memory. This is called selective amnesia. The brain has the power to remove people, sometimes entire relationships, from your consciousness, usually when those connections are too painful or traumatic. Imagine waking up, and someone who has been a huge part of your life, your spouse, a best friend, or even a parent, suddenly doesn't exist. You don't recognize their name, their face, or even the memories you shared. They've been erased, not by your own choice, but by your brain's subconscious attempt to protect you from emotional pain. But here's the terrifying part. Once these people are gone from your mind, they may never come back. Your brain holds on to fragments, but as you try to piece them together, everything about them feels hazy, distant, like it was never real. They fade into the background like a story you heard long ago. And just like that, they're lost forever, gone from your mind, and in some ways gone from your life. Number 8. Your mind can edit your perception of time. Time as you know it is nothing more than an illusion, and your brain is the master manipulator. In moments of extreme stress or danger, your brain can slow down time, making you feel like hours pass in a matter of seconds. It's the phenomenon that makes you think you have all the time in the world to react in a moment of fear. But it's actually your mind heightening your awareness, giving you more time to make decisions. However, this brain manipulation works both ways. In cases of trauma or deep shock, your brain can do the opposite, speeding up time, causing you to forget chunks of what happened or distort entire events. In these moments, you might feel like time is moving too quickly, like you're floating through life in a blur, as if you were disconnected from your own experience. But when you try to recall details later, everything is fragmented, like your brain rewrote the timeline. So next time something intense happens, ask yourself, did time really fly by? Or did your brain just warp it to make you forget? And if time can bend and twist, what else could your mind be hiding from you? Number 9. The brain can make you hear your own thoughts out loud. Ever been in a completely silent room, only to hear someone talking to you, only to realize it was your own voice in your head? This is known as auditory hallucination, and it can occur when your brain is overstimulated or under stress. Your inner voice, the one that usually lives quietly in your mind, becomes so loud that it feels like it's coming from somewhere outside of you, like someone is whispering in your ear. But it gets creepier. Sometimes these voices begin to say things that don't make sense, things that seem to have an agenda of their own. You might hear someone speak to you, not as a voice of reason, but as a command, telling you to do things that don't align with your true thoughts or intentions. The scariest part? These auditory hallucinations can be so vivid and convincing that for a brief moment you can't tell whether it's your mind playing tricks on you or if something else is communicating with you. And when the mind crosses that line, who's really in control anymore? Number 10. The brain can lock you in a dream state, even when you're awake. Have you ever had a nightmare so real, so visceral that you couldn't tell if you were asleep or awake? This is called hypnagogia, and it's the state your brain enters when transitioning between sleep and wakefulness. It's in this fragile space that your mind blurs the lines between dreams and reality, trapping you in a waking nightmare. People who experience hypnagogia often report hearing voices, seeing strange figures out of the corner of their eyes, or feeling as if they're floating or falling, experiences so vivid that they question whether they're truly awake. Your body may be in a fully conscious state, but your mind is still trapped in the dream world. Sometimes the hallucinations are so unsettling, so real, that you find yourself paralyzed, unable to shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. And the worst part? Once this happens, it's almost impossible to trust your senses. How do you know when you're truly awake, or if you're still lost in your own mind? So, after all this, do you still trust your own mind? Or is your brain just a puppet master, pulling the strings behind the scenes? Think about it. Your memories, your perception, your very reality could be slipping through your fingers without you even knowing it. We are all drones stuck in a matrix of our imagination. I am curious to know what's the scariest thing your mind has ever done to you? Have you experienced any of these unsettling facts firsthand? And if you enjoyed this dive into the terrifying unknown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because remember, your mind might try to convince you not to. Thanks for watching, and stay alert. You never know what your brain is up to when you're not looking.